Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing is totally unnecessary. The committee should have acted on February 1st, shortly after receiving Mr. Pascrell's letter, or when I offered the First Amendment in the committee for disclosure, or when the first motion was made on the floor of the House, or when we have come back again and again seeking disclosure pursuant to existing law that would involve private examination of these returns by committee staff and by the members, and then possibly disclosure after that depending upon what's found. And to anyone who says that we sound like a broken record, there is a broken record here, and it is that of Donald J. Trump. Unlike prior presidents, he has refused to disclose his tax returns. He's not the first wealthy business person to seek office. Look back only to Mitt Romney and recognize that he followed the precedents of other presidential candidates in releasing fully his tax returns. That's what should have happened here, so that today we could focus on the so-called Republican tax reform plan, which has had very little attention in this committee, and which we could take a look and see whether there's any reform in the tax reform, or this is just borrowing more money from abroad to provide tax breaks to whoever has the strongest lobbying force here, which has been the pattern in the past at great expense to our country. Really today is a choice about whether there'll be continued complicity in the ongoing cover-up of the Trump tax returns, or whether we will look under that rock and determine exactly what is there. And you know, the price of these tax breaks that are being proposed is a high one. Those that think that Mr. Trump represents the golden ticket to get giant tax breaks seem to be silent in the face of just one bit of error on Mr. Trump's part after another. Tolerating his collusion, certainly his attempts at collusion with the Russians, his dangerous bumbling, his embrace even this past month of torchlit processions that he described as very fine people, they're moot in the face of Trump's conduct in hopes that he and only he can deliver huge tax breaks. Almost every day, Mr. Trump sullies the high office that he holds and endangers our values and our families. He has bragged about being able to bend the tax code to his whim. He said that only he can fix the tax code. And the question remains, will he fix it for himself and the 500 entities that he reflects in his disclosure, or will it be fixed to help working families? Before this committee considers a dime worth of tax breaks for those at the top, the American people have a right to know whether the Trump tax plan is just about Trump, which is what everything that Mr. Trump talks about seems to address. Whether it's about self-enrichment for him and his family, or whether it is enriching America as a whole. We need to lift the cover-up of these Trump's tax returns and accompany any tax plan that is proposed with a line-by-line report of how much Mr. Trump, his family, and his companies will benefit. There's a direct interest of this committee and the work that we're doing on taxes in what is hidden in the Trump tax returns. And that's why it's so important to get to it. We've only seen, of course, one page so far from the Trump administration on that tax return, but included in that is the move to pass through businesses to lower their returns. And Mr. Trump appears to have about 500 pass-through businesses. There's an attempt to eliminate the alternative minimum tax, which we know from 1 year of 2 pages of Trump tax returns would have given him a rate of 3.48%, less than an employee contributes on their Social Security. These are significant tax issues in addition to the day-by-day drip, drip, drip of more evidence of Russian entanglement through his businesses. We need to get to the bottom of this, and this committee is one that is unique in being vested with legislative authority and long-standing precedent for being able to do just that. So I commend Mr. Pascrell, encourage the support of his resolution, If not today, it's just a question of how long the cover-up and the concealment goes on, because eventually this will become available for the American people. I yield back.